we go to the website where we can get Natron, the cross-platform open source compositing software. Up here, you have your download, and you get the version, that works for you. And also, please consider taking project examples, especially if you don't have your footage to practice with. They give you 3 project examples, and especially the second one, the spaceship. So these are quite useful. All right, so when you download these and install, it's quite straightforward. You then come to Natron. Well, let's start again with Natron from the first step. It's not the interface. The installation is quite simple. You just follow that and you open it and that's it. But it's the configuration. There are a few things that you need to be aware of and you need to change based on your needs. We will start with configuration, but to be able to understand that configuration change, I need you to understand how Natron works. Node-based compositing in Natron is such that Natron never recalculates the same node twice. Well, that is a good news, which means it is going to be much faster. It manages the resources properly. This node, once it's changed, it is cached. It is saved. The result of the node, not in total, but each node, the result of it is saved in the cache. This way, if I come here and change only the blur, it doesn't recalculate everything to show me the viewer. It just recalculates the blur. All of the other untouched nodes are saved as cache. Okay, well, that's a good news. That's great. That's faster. What does it also mean? Well, it means that it's saved somewhere. Okay, it's saved in a cache. Well, we have a specific tab here in the interface, in the menu, that says cache. And it starts in clear disk cache, clear playback, clear per node, clear all cache, clear plugins. Well, clearly there's something about clearing cache that is important to have a menu just for that, a menu item just for that, a list for that. Well, you are going to work with a few videos, right? Compositing is about bringing many things together and creating a new thing. This means that, and it's going to depend on how big your footage is, your video. If you're working with 4K, several of them, or 8K, or if you're using heavy files, it is going to cache this stuff. And if it does cache it, it means the cache is going to be growing up quite fast, depending on your footage. Well, you want to be aware of a parameter. Not here. The idea is not to keep working and every time clearing the cache. This isn't the approach I would recommend. I would recommend that you come from the beginning to the edit preferences and you go to the tab caching. And here you set your parameters right so that you don't have any problems down the road. I don't expect any problems as such. It's just the idea that it's going to use the cache, and once it reaches the maximum, it starts deleting the earlier cache. That's all. So 2 main parameters here. Disk cache path. Where do you put that cache? If you have 2 disks, 2 internal disks in your computer, one is mainly for the operating system and for applications, and the other one is for data. Well, I recommend you put it in the data one, not in the operating system one. But because this is reading real time from the cache, if you're playing, it's reading from the disk, from the cache, and not recalculating it on the fly. It means the speed of your of the disk where you're going to put the cache matters. So if your second disk where you put the cache is only 5,400 RPMs, rotations per minute, that is one thing. And if it is an SSD, it's another thing. Well, if it's somewhere in between 7,200 RPMs, that's a bit better than 5,400. But it's just something for you to take into account, okay? That is the first one. The second part is the percentage of the RAM that is used. By default, it's 50%. Now, you know what? You could absolutely work with the default values, but be careful that if you only have one disk, it could go, okay? Not one disk. By default, it goes to your C drive, and I would recommend you don't do that. So I want you to consider changing this one, but you could leave this one as is, as default. Just you need to understand what it is, depending on your RAM. In my case here, it is 32. So it's taken about 16 50%. What does 50% mean? When it reaches 50%, it is going to start deleting the earlier caches of the nodes that were calculated first. That's what it means. And it means that when you are going to make a change, it's going to recalculate them again. Okay, so just to be aware of this is an important thing for your speed of processing, for managing your resources.